Well, dear learners, I welcome you all in this session on subsidiary books. So far, we have talked about the journal and then how to post the transactions into ledger, how to make a balance, and then preparing a trial balance. So, well friends, preparing the trial balance is completely on the basis of balances shown by the respective ledger accounts. Here we will be discussing various subsidiary books which helps the business in making the business activities smooth and profit oriented. Well friends, when we talk about subsidiary books, we have different types of subsidiary books that helps the business for running the business very smooth. The first one is cash book. Well friends, you might be well aware that cash book is the main book in the business. Whenever any transaction takes place in which there is an involvement of cash, either the cash is coming in or the cash is going out. So, for that we prepare the cash book. Then the second one is purchases journal. So, well friends, purchases journal, whenever we buy the merchandise, then the transactions which are related to the buying of merchandise so are recorded in the purchases journal. Then purchases returns journal. Sometimes what happens that whatever amount of goods we buy from the supplier, so that goods may not be as per the specification given by us. Sometimes the goods may be of poor quality, sometimes the quantity may be different. Likewise, there may be other reasons. So, when we return the goods to the supplier, so for that purchase returns journals is used. Then the sales journal. So, when we sales the merchandise, when we make the sales of the goods, for that sales journal is involved. Sales returns journal. Well friends, when we make the sales to our customer, so sometimes it also happens that the goods sold by us to our customer may and may not be as per the specification of our customer. So, when the customer is not satisfied with the quality of the goods and when the goods is not as per his specification, he may also return the goods to us. So, when he returns the goods to us, when he returns the goods to the business, so for that sales return journal take place. Then bills receivable journal. Well friends, sometimes what happens that when we make sales of goods on credit basis, so when the goods is sold to our customer on credit basis, under such a situation the customer gives us a note which is called as bills receivable, that he would like to make the payment on such and such date, such and such amount. Likewise, bills payable journal. So, when we buy the goods from the supplier on credit basis, we give a note to our supplier that we will make the payment of rupees this much on such and such date. So, this is for that purpose the bills payable journal is maintained. Then the next one is journal proper. So this journal proper is basically used for the transactions which have not been covered under the above 7 journal. So any transactions which have not been covered under above the 7 types of journal, so all those transactions would be recorded under journal proper. So we will discuss these subsidiary books one by one with the help of the illustrations and so on and so forth. Let us discuss the following are the advantages of subsidiary books. So let us see what advantages are there in order to maintain the subsidiary books. First one is classification of transactions becomes automatic. Well friends, when there are huge number of transactions and those transactions are of different nature. So under such a situation, we need to classify those transactions. Say for example, the transactions which are related to the purchase must be recorded in purchase journal. The transactions which are related with sales must be recorded in the sales journal. The transactions which are related to the purchase returns must be recorded under purchase returns journal, so on and so forth. So in case of numerous transactions, the classification becomes automatic and it is your process of recording the business transaction in different books. For example, you see that there is a separate book for each type of transactions. The transactions of same natures are automatically bought at one place. So this is at one place. So when the transactions which are of similar nature, they are brought at one place. For example, all credit purchase of goods are recorded in the purchase book. Likewise, a reference becomes easy. So if any reference is required, it can be traced easily by referring to the appropriate subsidiary books. You do not have to go through all the transactions recorded in the journal, because any transactions which is related to the purchase will find in the purchase journal. If any transactions which is related to the sales, you will find the same transaction in sales journal, so on and so forth. Therefore, the reference becomes easy. One can easily trace the transactions depending upon the nature of the transactions, because if the transaction is related to the purchase, simply we need to go through the purchase journal and we will come across the same transactions. Then the next one is facilitates division of work. The division of journal into various subsidiary books facilitates division of work among many persons. This in turn facilitates prompt recording of transaction and saves a lot of time. Yes, it is quite obvious that on account of division of work, the works become very easy and each and every person knows that which transaction will be recorded where. So when things are set, when things are very much clear, in that case the chances of duplications are almost negligible and things becomes very easy. And when everything is in proper order, it facilitates the accountant, it facilitates the entire business. Then the next one is more particulars. More details about the transaction can be given in subsidiary books than would be possible in one book. So well friends, when you are preparing the separate set of books for the similar sort of transaction, in that case you can give more detail to the transaction, so that as and when you need the details of any particular business transaction, you can easily fetch out the detail of that particular transaction. Then responsibility can be fixed. The work of maintaining a particular book can be entrusted to a particular person. He will be responsible for keeping it up to date and in order. Yes, of course, the work of maintaining a particular book can be entrusted. Say for example, if the maintenance of purchase book has been given to a particular person, so he can update all the business transaction related to that particular book. Therefore, if anything goes wrong or if he do not perform his duty properly, then he can easily be caught. His accountability can easily be fixed. So, this helps the business to fix the responsibility of the individual if the individual do not perform the duty as per the specification, as per the requirement. Facilitates checking. So, when the trial balance does not agree, the location of errors will be relatively easy. Yes, dear friends, you all might be well aware that in case when the trial balance does not tally, because as per the dual aspect concept of the accounting, both the side, that is debit side and credit side of the trial balance must be equal. So, when the trial balance does not tally or both the side of the trial balance are not equal, in that case locating the errors is comparatively an easier job, because when you are segregating the works to the different individuals, so when they are performing their duty to the best of their satisfaction, to the best of their knowledge, to the best of their efforts, in such a case chances of occurring the error are comparatively lower. Cash book. Well friends, now when we talk about cash books, so cash books are basically of three types. First one is simple or single column cash book. Second one is two or double column cash book. Third one is three or triple column cash book. So, generally we call them single column cash book, double column cash book and triple column cash book. So, we will study how the transactions are recorded in single column cash book, in double column cash book and in triple column cash book. This is the format of single column cash book. So, here we have two sides. This left hand side is known as debit side and this right hand side is known as credit side. As we have written a word CR, CR stands for credit and here DR stands for debit. It means this side is known as debit side and this side is known as credit side. So, here friends, if you see the format of the cash book, in the debit side you have 5 columns. First one is date column, then description, then voucher number, then page reference, then amount. So, these are the 5 columns: first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Likewise, in the credit side again we have 5 columns: date, description, voucher number, page reference and amount. So, this is the format of cash book, single column cash book. Now, 2-column cash book. So, friends, as far as the 2-column cash book is concerned, so in 2-column cash book, one column in the debit side and one column in the credit side increases on account of bank. So, if you see the format of the double column cash book, now you have 6 columns instead of 5 columns on the debit side and 6 column on the credit side. So, first one is date, second one is description, third one is voucher number, fourth one is page reference, fifth one is cash and sixth one is bank. Likewise, in the credit side you will find the 6 column. The first one is date, second one is description, third one is voucher number, fourth one is page reference, fifth one is cash and sixth one is bank. So, here the bank column has been introduced in the debit side as well as in the credit side, because sometimes what happens when the transactions are taking place with the help of the checks, in that case it becomes necessary to introduce the bank column in the debit side or in the credit side, because when we make the payment with the help of the check, then our bank balance will be reduced, and if we receive the check from our customer, so that will enhance the bank balance of our business. So, therefore, when the transactions are taking place with the help of the checks, then it is mandatory to introduce the bank column in the debit side and as well as in the credit side also. Petty cash book. So, in every business there will be numerous small payments in cash, such as payment for postage, telegrams, stationery, cartage, conveyance, entertaining the customers, minor repairs, etc. If all these petty payments are recorded in the cash book along with other payments, the cash book will be overloaded. Yes, it is true that this is basically done in order to avoid in order to dilute the burden of the accountant. So, when numerous small payments in cash, such as payment for postage, telegram, stationery, cartage, conveyance, entertaining the customers, minor repair, etc., if all these petty payments are recorded in the cash book along with other payments, the cash book will be overloaded. So, just to dilute the burden of the cash book, the small payments which have to be made on account of these above items like postage, telegrams, stationery, cartage, conveyance, entertaining the customers, repairs, etc. So, in that case, for such small payments we need to maintain the petty cash book so as to reduce the burden of the cash book. Hence, a separate book called petty cash book is maintained for recording all such small or petty payments. A person called petty cashier is interested with the work of making all small payments. So, for doing the payments of all such things, very small and very petty amount, a person to whom the work is assigned is called petty cashier, and he maintains the petty cash book. The petty cashier maintains the petty cash book. The sum of money given to the petty cashier for making small payments is called petty cash. Imprest system. So, generally the petty cash book is maintained on impressed system. Now let us try to understand what actually this impressed system is all about. So this system is very simple, and particularly this impressed system is introduced in the business in order to make the petty payments, so as to dilute, so as to avoid the heavy pressure on the cash book. So under this system, an estimate is made of the amount required for petty payments for a certain period, say a week or a month. This amount is handed over to the petty cashier in advance. So first of all, in this impressed system, we need to estimate the amount in order to make the petty payments. So when the estimate is made, after that this amount which is required in order to make the petty payments is entrusted to the cashier, petty cashier. Say for example, sometimes we make the estimate of making the small payments, say for a period of 15 days, or say for a period of 1 month. So accordingly, after making the estimate, the payment is given to the petty cashier in advance, so as to make the payment of these small items well in time. The petty cashier is required to obtain vouchers for all expenses he incurs. At the end of the period, the petty cashier presents the petty cash book together with the vouchers to the chief cashier. The chief cashier verifies the entries in the petty cash book and pays to the petty cashier a sum equal to the amount spent by him. So this way, the original amount of the petty cash with which the petty cashier had started is thus restored. So here the concept is very simple. Here under this impressed system, the petty cashier is required to obtain vouchers for all expenses he incurs. So whatever amount of expenses the petty cashier is going to incur, he will have to obtain the vouchers for those expenses. In order to support those expenses, he will have to obtain the vouchers, because only on the basis of vouchers the petty cashiers can justify the expenses incurred by him. At the end of the period, the petty cashier presents the petty cash book. So at the end of the period, say for example, if the petty cash book has been maintained for making the small payments, say for example for every month. So after every month, the expenses which are incurred by the petty cashier, so these transactions are recorded in the petty cash book, and this petty cash book is presented before the chief cashier. So the chief cashier verifies the entries which have been recorded by the petty cashier in the petty cash book and pays to the petty cashier a sum equal to the amount spent by him. So the amount which is spent by the petty cashier, so the chief cashier pays him an equal amount, whatever amount he has spent in order to make the petty payments. So the amount equal to that is given by the chief cashier to the petty cashier. The original amount of petty cash with which the petty cashier had started is thus restored. Yes, of course, if I as a petty cashier was given rupees 5,000 at the beginning of the month, say for example 1st of January, I was given rupees 5,000 in order to make the payment of the petty expenses. So after 1 month or on 31st of January. So whatever payment which is made by me as petty cashier, so I need to obtain the vouchers for that, and then this petty the transactions which I recorded in the petty cash book is presented before the chief cashier. So the chief cashier verifies the transactions which I have recorded in the petty cash book. So once he satisfies and once he makes the cross check that yes, the transactions which are recorded in the petty cash books are okay, then the amount spent by the cashier, petty cashier, is reimbursed by the chief cashier. So therefore the original amount with which the petty cashier had started is restored. Say for example, if I had given 5,000 rupees and during the month of January I spent 2,000 rupees on account of making the petty cash, and I obtained the vouchers of rupees 2,000. I recorded all these transactions in the petty cash book, and at the end of the month, that is on 31st January, I presented the petty cash book before the chief cashier. Chief cashier was convinced and he made the cross checking, and then again he reimbursed me rupees 2,000, because at the end of 31st January I spent only 2,000 rupees on account of making the payment. So again the chief cashier will reimburse rupees 2,000 to me on 31st of January. So that way again I had rupees 5,000 as balance. So this is how the petty cash book and petty cashiers are performing their job. Then the next one is 3-column cash book and format. So this is the format of 3-column cash book. Now in 3-column cash book you will find 7 column instead of 6 column, because in single column cash book there are 5 columns. There are 5 columns in the debit side and 5 columns in the credit side. But as far as 2-column cash book is concerned, instead of 5 there were 6 columns in the debit side and 6 columns in the credit side. But now when we talk about 3-column cash book, so in 3-column cash book there are 7 columns in the debit side and 7 columns in the credit side. So in the debit side, you can see the columns: date column, description column, voucher number, page reference, and here discount. So this column has been added in the 2 columns cash book. So in the first column cash book, 5 columns were there in the debit side and credit side, but in double column cash book another column was added, and that column was added for bank in the debit side and in the credit side. Now in 3-column cash book again one more column has been added, that is discount column in the debit side and discount column in the credit side. So this way you will see that there are 7 columns in the debit side: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Likewise in the credit side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So here you will see that the third 3-column cash book is maintained. So in first column cash book it is also known as simple cash book, and in second column cash book the transactions which are related to the cash and banks both are recorded. And as far as the 3-column cash book is concerned, in 3-column cash book the discount column is also added. We may receive the discount, we may give the discount. So therefore the amount of discount will also take place in the debit side and in the credit side. So if we are making the payment of discount to our customer, then it will be recorded in the debit side. If we are receiving the discount from our supplier, then it will be recorded in the credit side of the cash book. So this is how the 3-column cash book is maintained. This was all about this session on subsidiary books. So now we will again, in continuation with this, again studying the remaining subsidiary books in the coming session. So I hope you all might have enjoyed this session. Thank you very much.